Who are some of the about time guys? Where have you been? Players that we need to discuss that are ready to break out and have big seasons for Oklahoma. Coming up next here on Locked On Sooners.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Once again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Jay, before we get to our About Time Players of the Week, let's run through a couple fan feelings here. We're going to start doing this as a weekly part of the show where you're going to supply what you're feeling as we go through the regular season, as we go through fall camp. Let's start here with one of our everydayers here, Robert. He says, excited to see first and foremost if the overhaul on the offensive side of the ball will pay dividends barring injury.
I love that you put the caveat of barring injuries in there. And for you fans, please, we're going to do this every Friday. This will be a part of the show. We want you to tell us how you're feeling, especially about the propaganda that's coming out. Mm-hmm. As the propaganda comes out, as the more details come out, as the updates come out, let us know how you're feeling. Every Friday, we'll go through them. We'll filter through and see what they see, how you're feeling, and be able to talk about it. But, Robert, you're 100% right. That's where we both are. Me and John are both thinking that. I know I can speak for both of us on that is we want to see what this overhaul looks like. Luckily, I was actually talking to somebody else not too long ago about this, is that you're bringing in an offensive coordinator that West Texas that has a, air raid-ish type setup, right? Comes from that tree. Bill Beatonbow is used to a system like that. He's coaching a system like that for years, so he's comfortable. Same thing with Emmett Jones. So really the two positions where you had struggles, both of those coaches have coached underneath other coaches that have ran systems like that. Remember, Emmett Jones was at Tech, right, for a bit. You've had, Bill Beatonbow, not only on the Lincoln Riley, spent time in Indiana. He's been around. I mean, Seth Luttrell technically ran more of an air raid system before he came here when he's down there in North Texas, because he had an air raid offensive coordinator there too. So you've got these coaches that are used to these type of systems that can be adjusted based upon personnel. That, to me, makes it a lot easier for us to be able to adjust and go. So the overhaul, I'm really excited to see too.
Yeah, this one right here from King Key 9805. If the OL has improved, which would be nearly impossible not to, giving up 50 sacks, and John Mateer doesn't turn the football over nearly as often, this team should be competing for a playoff spot. I think King Key is right on that. Put your crown on, my man.
Yeah, put it on. And when I talk to Brett Ciencia, he'll kind of explain to you the path of Oklahoma potentially going there. So, hey, it can. The thing about it is the giving up 50 sacks is, and you get that when you have a lot of combinations of offensive line play because you're dealing with injuries. Good thing is you're not playing a whole bunch of young players anymore. You're playing guys that have actually gotten their butt kicked in the SEC and they understand what to do to be better. And
you give up 50 sacks when you have an indecisive quarterback.
Fair point.
And as much, listen, offensive line play matters in pressure and sacks, but sacks are a quarterback stat.
Yeah.
In my opinion, the quarterback has a bigger role to play in avoiding sacks. Get rid of the football, check out of a play, adjust your protection. The quarterback can control so much more than what the offensive line can because he has control over the offense. And a lot of times it's just be decisive, get the ball out, especially when you know you've got an offensive line that just isn't necessarily as good as it needs to be. So if the offensive line is improved, this team is going to win 9 games or more. I haven't made my official prediction yet, or more, and they're going to contend for a playoff spot. Here's the last one here. This one's coming from Brent Chapman. Again, another everydayer dropping his fan feelings, hoping for the same feeling this year as we had in 2000 as they climbed up the polls towards earning a national championship.
I like that. That to me feels consistent with where I think we should be as well. Let's start. We're starting in the middle. I think we're 20-ish again?
Yeah.
That's the back
20 to 25, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that will help us to be able to get to the point of, if we're going to compete for a title, that's a good spot to be at. I think
Oklahoma fans do not mind being in the underdog role.
I think
Oklahoma fans, they kind of relish being written off. They relish being overlooked because it allows you to just sneak up and surprise and impress and pave your own way, right? That's kind of an Oklahoma way. Like it's in the DNA a little bit of Oklahomans where you're just going to make your own way.
Yeah, and we kind of need to do that too. We just need to prove to
everybody it's a whole new world for Oklahoma. You're second year in the SEC. You've got a new offensive coordinator. Brent Venables taking back the defensive play calling. Go make your way. All right. It's about time for the About Time Players of the Week. Jay, who is your About Time Player of the Week this week?
So when I'm looking at the propaganda come out, and when I'm proposed this to John for a topic, it's more of a, what player do we think it's time for them to now, it's about time for you to be somebody that we're relying on, someone that we're thinking about, someone that we feel like you need to break out, period, right? So for me, it took me a bit to really think about it, but and I was talking to somebody else about this exact same thing. So John, as I say this, others may have heard this before, but I think it's Peyton Bowen for me. Now, there's a caveat behind the Peyton Bowen decision to me, is because Peyton was behind Billy Bowman. He, in a way, we thought about him as someone that needs to break out, while at the same time we understood because he wasn't going to start over Billy. Billy was just too much of the heart and soul of that secondary and was a leader, in which, it looks like he's probably going to start at nickel for the Falcons right now. That tells you everything about how good the kid is, even if you try to doubt him. But now it's his. Robert Spears-Jennings is going to, of course, still be that free safety. He took his spot. He showed his about time last season and said, nah, I'm going to go ahead and run this bad boy. Now it's time for Peyton to give us that same thing. And I truly believe that this is now or never for him. If he says his toe's healthy, great. Show us.
Yeah, the time is now, because you've got some young, impressive, promising safeties right behind you ready to take a job if you're not ready to be a full-time starter. So it's time. Same with a guy like Jacob Sexton, and that's who I'm kind of looking at. He feels the best he's felt. He's more flexible. He's more physical. Troy Everett was talking about how strong he is right now, and that's a guy that he was a 4-star prospect in the 2022 recruiting class, just hasn't been able to stay healthy. And behind him on the depth chart, you got Logan Howland, who played 500 snaps for you last year, coming in well before he was ready to do so against a really good Ole Miss defensive front. Had some ups and downs, got better as the season went along. That's a guy that will push Jacob Sexton if he's not ready to solidify that left tackle spot. Michael Fasusi as well. Michael Fasusi has done nothing but impress everybody in Norman this offseason. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the guy's going to start at any point during the regular season, but if it's not this year, he's going to start next year.
Yeah.
Brent Venables has been impressed with his maturity and his work ethic and the technique and the talent. Technique. Jacob Sexton, man, there is actual pressure on you. If you're going to be the starting left tackle, you got to hold it down. There can't be roller coasters. There can't be up and downs. You've got to solidify that spot, protecting John Mateer's blind side, providing some veteran experience next to what we presume to be Eddie Pierre-Louis at left guard. You've got to lock it down. Now's the time for you to do that. And I think he's going to. I think he's going to have that breakout year that we've been hoping to see for the last couple of years. So that's it. Those are our About Time players that we're looking at this week. We'll discuss more next week. We'll also go through more of your fan feelings. We'll put that post out there on the YouTube side of things sometime middle of next week, just to get everybody's feelings from what happened in the last week with Oklahoma football. But coming up next is Jay's interview with Brett Ciencia of Pick Six Previews, breaking down the Oklahoma Sooners for the 2025 football season. Make sure you stick around for that here on Locked On Sooners.